Welcome to the second Compilation Celebration, episodes 11 through 20. You can check out both Jim Riley and Paranormal True or False on Facebook. You can follow Paranormal True or False on Instagram. And please subscribe on YouTube. It is free to follow, check out, and subscribe. Thank you. Episode 11. Is this a demon disguised as a human? Or is it a human disguised as a demon? As they look through the staircase, they see a creepy hooded figure. It is clearly a human being in disguise, but are the investigators in on this, or is this a stranger pulling a prank? This is the same investigators investigating a different part of the building, and they're going to see something in the window on the left. They capture the same demonic hooded figure as they did before. Now, if you saw a human being dressed like this, you would immediately assume, if it's not Halloween, that they are seriously psychologically unstable, and with this being an abandoned building, you need to evacuate the premises because it's not safe. These guys stuck around. That tells me that this hooded figure is part of their team, and they're just creating paranormal videos. They're not actually capturing paranormal activity. Is this basement haunted? Or is this a hoax? This homeowner is having problems with his basement. The lights won't turn on or off. Then he goes down the stairs and he sees a shadow. He'll run back upstairs and get some sage and go back downstairs to confront whatever's down here. The pipe is actually in front of the shadow, and it's blending in with the shadow, but it creates an optical illusion that the shadow is walking through the pipe. He chases the shadow around this equipment, and you can continue to see it as he turns corners. At this point, he's going to run upstairs and get some sage so that he can smudge his basement, which is a technique used to try and rid a home of paranormal activity. I do not know if the technique works. As he opens the door, there's a figure standing at the bottom of the stairs. It is there right up until he turns on the lights. The figure steps to the left and off camera. Does a ghost that doesn't want to be seen have to step out of frame? Or can it just evaporate before our eyes? Conveniently, all the lights are working now. As he turns to go back upstairs, The door slams shut. Sometimes when there's too much paranormal activity, I question if it's real. There is a figure behind this lady, hiding in plain sight. When she is in the center of the frame, we do not see anything behind her. But then when she shifts to her left, we start to see somebody standing behind her. The figure is definitely a monochrome black third-dimensional being. However, it's not transparent, and it's also leaving a shadow on the cabinet. So I'm not convinced this is paranormal. It's most likely a human being in a disguise, or it's a video effect. Episode 12. I always end my videos with be safe and watch out for the non-paranormal threats. Well, today's video is about non-paranormal threats, those that have been caught on my own personal security cameras, and these dangers are incredibly creepy and scary. If you like this video, please subscribe. The creepy criminal. This is literally a guy that is trying to break into my house around 2 o'clock in the morning while I was out of town. This room is an enclosed patio attached to my house, and when he opened up the door, it set off the camera's motion light, and it's the light in the camera that caused him to go away. He did not get in, and he was never caught. Is this a ghost trying to manifest? This odd flickering light is in front of the lens. This is actually a bug clipped to make it look paranormal. The clip you just saw is actually a leg from this bug that I just cut and put in front of this, so you had no context of where it came from. But that's the leg. So when you watch paranormal videos and you just see a shape that's a light, it could be a bug on the lens. Spectral lights appear. The camera is on a tree, and this is a nasty storm. Anytime that you get water on a lens that is facing towards a light, you will get these odd ghostly lights and this blurring, and that's just refraction. Here are some more clips from my security cameras. Episode 13. Is this a ghost in a tunnel? These young men are investigating tunnels when one of them uses the camera and looks up this one drain pipe and sees what appears to be a ghost. If that part of the tunnel goes outside, then that is outside light that's coming in. and it's potentially a bend or an elbow in the pipe there, and it gives this optical illusion of being a ghost. Is this a cryptid or a human? This is supposedly an abandoned building being explored, but it looks like it's not abandoned at all. Abandoned buildings are often used by drug addicts, homeless, and runaway teenagers, and in this case it could be a runaway teenager or just a friend playing a hoax. Is this paranormal or just a weird dude? As cameras run and people sleep, a weird dude comes out of the crack in the wall. I don't watch horror movies, so I don't know if this is a scene from a real movie, but I'm pretty sure this is not paranormal. I think our choices are: that's an actor, that's a psychologically unstable person, or it's an underdeveloped human being. Watch that darker patch on the floor. Weird dude. You would think somebody that's capable of busting through the floor can crawl out a bit faster. See, if he crawled faster, he wouldn't have been trapped by the bed. It was creepy, and funny, and very much fictional. I think the people that made the previous video made this one too. Campers at a campsite were attacked. This camera operator is looking for the other campers. As he pans the camera into the teepee, we can see an injured person and what appears to be blood on the ground. As the camera pans to the right, a figure is seen. Weird dude. With extra limbs, maybe he can escape beds. I'm not an expert on horror movies, but they do have suspense and creepiness. So if that was their goal, they accomplished it. Episode 14. Is this gurney possessed? The gurney on the right hand side starts moving on its own. I noticed that the gurney moves at the exact same rate it would take for someone to walk behind those trees and pull a string. So did they set up some type of multiple fishing line or camouflage string system where they could walk between the strings and just pull one at a time? Multiple objects are moving in this one location. A chair slowly moves backwards and then it moves forwards. This is a restaurant or a pub. Did somebody use camouflage string or fishing line to move the chair? A glass door suddenly closes. Is someone hiding on the other side of the wall, just out of sight of the camera, and just push the door closed? A vase or bottle slides across the table. Again, is a string being used to pull this object in the direction of somebody off camera? The pillow flies off camera. The pillow is yanked up before it is yanked off camera. Is that because there's a fishing line attached to a fishing pole which would recreate this effect? Also, why is there a camera pointing at these pillows? A broom moves and falls, seemingly on its own. A security camera is pointing at industrial garage doors. One of the doors slowly starts to rise up, and then a broom comes out, but it doesn't look like there's a hand attached to the broom. This type of broom has a flat head on it, so it is very possible to just shove the broom out and it would create this effect of standing on its own and then falling against the wall before it falls to the floor. Even though you can recreate this effect naturally, when you zoom in and you don't see an arm or a hand, it is still creepy. Episode 15. These bulletin boards are moving on their own. These bulletin boards are on wheels and they're rolling around this hallway. The camera is shaking. Is it because this building is located near an earthquake fault line, a train station, an airport, something that would cause the building to shake and vibrate, which would produce this type of motion with these boards? Is the floor level? Is the camera shaking because it's actually being held by a human being that's pretending to be a security camera? Is someone using a string and just pulling these boards to a direction that's off camera? There is a doorway on the right hand side. Did somebody tie a string on the left hand side of this board and yank it really hard to create this spinning motion? Is it possible that these boards are being remote controlled? I don't know that much about RC technology, but I feel like anything that has wheels can be remoted to move in any direction the controller wants. Or is this paranormal? Put your theories in the comment section below. These Malaysian police officers were surprised. As these police officers are talking, both doors open suddenly. The door on the right opens inward. The door on the left opens outward and shatters. The police immediately start investigating, trying to figure out what just happened. If it was a storm outside or an explosion, I would have expected both doors to fly inward, not have one go in and the other go out. Could a blast or a storm cause some type of odd vacuum that resulted in one door opening in and the other door opening out? Since this is a police station, I don't see how it would be possible to rig some type of contraption or string to cause this type of effect. I was not able to find anything in English that explained what happened, so I don't know if the police figured out what caused this activity or if it is paranormal. Is this woman a ghostly stowaway? As we watch the man with his back to us, we see that he's alone, but when he approaches the cab, it appears there's a woman behind him. Some digital security systems can actually cause an object to move when it's not moving, or cause it to be standing still when it is moving. So I'm wondering if this is a camera glitch that is just simply not picking her up, but is only picking him up. The woman is significantly smaller than the man, So I wonder if she's in front of him when his back is to us, and then on his left hand side when they're standing sideways, and in both instances, he is blocking our view. Is that her leg or her skirt that is at his left hip? Is that the post or her jacket and skirt that is directly behind him? What is that directly behind his legs? Doesn't it look like there's somebody in the cab about to get out? Where did that person go? We can see the outline of his head through the rear window, and he's sitting closest to the door. She, however, is now looking transparent. Now it looks like he's moved over and is sitting by the opposite door. This does appear to be an optical illusion in which his body blocked us from being able to see her, and the fact that he moved to the opposite side of the car, that tells me he was expecting to let somebody else in. Episode 16. Is this flying plate a flying saucer? As a man sits at a table, a cup flies towards him. Then a plate flies towards him. Is this just objects on a string being pulled? As a lady is sleeping, an unexpected visitor arrives. As the lady sleeps, her bedroom door slowly opens, and then the covers slowly move off her body. When we zoom in and look closely at the space between her head and the edge of the bed, we see movement. Is she pulling a string, which is how that door ended up opening? And did the covers come off simply because she straightened her legs? A glass on a bar top shatters. As we watch this scene, we see the glass that is closest to this man's hand suddenly shatter. The man moves his hand in an odd way towards the glass. Does he have a window glass breaker in his hand that he's palming? Something like this? It looks like there's something between his index finger and his middle finger, and his thumb is tucked into his palm. So it's very possible when he pushes up like that, that's when he hits the glass with the glass breaker. Episode 17. Is this thermal image a hit or a miss? The clip starts with an IR camera, then it switches to a thermal camera. When the thermal camera is pointed up at the upstairs windows, one window appears to have an image in it. Does the window on the right have someone standing in it? One of the things that I noticed when they point the IR camera up to the upper stories is the window on the left doesn't look like there's anything in the window, but the window on the right looks like it has a blackout curtain. If they use some type of a shade or a curtain and glued some type of an image onto that shade, you might get this effect with the thermal camera. The other option that you have is people standing on the other side of that blackout curtain, and because the curtain is cold, it may be picking up the body temperatures as cold. This shape is odd, in which if you look at the green part it looks like there's one figure, but if you look at the blue part, it looks like there's two figures. Is this a smoky figure, or is it just smoke? As the camera is turned on, we'll see a man smoking. Then that camera will be pointed outside. We'll see puffs of smoke fly in front of the camera. Then he'll zoom in on that electric pole. A creepy, smoky figure crosses in front of the camera. We see an odd giraffe-like figure running in front of the camera. Most likely this is just a puff of smoke from his cigarette, but because it's zoomed in, we don't have that same context that we saw earlier. Why did this chair fly? On the right we see a man sleeping restlessly. At the back of the frame we see a chair, and it will fly across the room backwards, out of sight. I've already reviewed 3 clips from this man's house, so I'm not convinced that anything that comes from him is paranormal. But if you haven't watched that episode, go watch episode 4. Anytime something is pulled off camera in a direction of a blind spot, I'm always assuming a string is involved. However, this might be a little bit more elaborate, in which he put a hook on the ceiling and ran the string through the ceiling so you get that uplift. Just because it looks like he's sleeping and it looks like we can see his hands, he used a rocket on a previous clip, so he could very easily remote control some type of rigging to recreate that effect. Is a ghost rolling the ball? The small ball in the middle of the frame will start rolling by itself. Is a string being used? Is a remote control being used? Based on all the clips I've seen, I think this gentleman is creating paranormal activity, not capturing paranormal activity. Who slammed this door? The camera is pointing towards a door, when all of a sudden it slams shut with enough force to ruffle the curtains. So we have to ask all the obvious questions. Is there someone off camera who just grabbed the door and closed it? Was a string used to close it? Is this a pissed off parent or a pissed off spouse? Is this a ghost of a parent or a ghost of a spouse? Why did this bottle fall? In the upper left corner of our screen, we'll start to see a bottle move off the shelf before it falls. Was there any type of moisture or condensation under the bottle that caused it to slide? Is there a string attached? Security cameras normally don't move, they're very stationary, so I think this might be someone holding a cell phone camera, looking at the security camera monitor and recording this footage in that manner. So I don't think we have a vibration in the building or anything of that nature that's causing this activity. I can see how this might be staged using string, but this could also be paranormal. What is making this ghostly light? As we watch this rain being captured by the security camera, all of a sudden, in a couple of frames, we see just a very large ghostly light appear in the middle of the screen. Watch the timestamp. Multiple times they loop the seconds from 31 to 34. Then when it hits 36, the image appears. But then there's a cut in the footage from 36 seconds to 41 seconds. If you go back and watch episode 12, you will see that security cameras can create ghostly lights when it's raining, and it's all to do with refraction, and in this case it's caused by the IR sensor and the light from the IR sensor. So they manipulated this footage by wiping out 5 seconds and freeze framing on this image for 5 seconds, causing it to look like a ghost when in actuality it's just IR sensor and rainwater. Who or what moved this wagon handle? As we watch the lower right hand corner of the screen, we will see the wagon handle fly upwards and then drop back down. Is a string being used by somebody off camera? Or is this some type of a haunting where a ghost wants to get going? Saddle up and ride, or in this case, harness up and ride. Episode 18. A doll is watching. As the camera is watching, it appears that this doll moved her eyes from facing towards her right to facing towards the camera operator. When we slow the footage down and zoom in, her right eye looks like a square cube, which would be indicative of a video overlay. I also think there may be some type of optical illusion, because when she's supposedly looking to the right, there's actually a shadow that is crossing over her face, and then when that shadow is removed, then it looks like the doll is looking at the camera operator. So I'm not sure with this one if it's a video overlay or an optical illusion. I'm just not convinced it's paranormal. What do you think? A ghostly figure is seen in the other room. As the camera pans towards the left, for a split second we see what appears to be a woman in a dress. Is it somehow a reflection of light and camera bouncing off of the walls and that haze creating this effect? Is it a living person playing a hoax? Or is it just simply staged to look like a creepy figure? The initial view before the lights turn on gives the impression that this is a beam of sunlight and it's just creating that normal haze of light bouncing off particles. But then when the light turns on and that smoky haze is still there, did they use some type of a smoke machine to create that effect? Are these objects moving on their own? As the investigator is laying on the bed, with multiple devices to try and capture spirit activity. Something behind her on the night table moves, and it startles her into running from the room. As we zoom in and look closer, we see that it's a small white box that is sitting in a precarious manner that then suddenly falls. So I have to ask all of my normal questions. Was there some type of vibration in the house that caused this object to move? Was it just not placed on the night table solidly enough and it just fell on its own because of gravity? Is there a string attached to it? Or is this paranormal? Always watch your back. As this young man is talking to the camera, some type of face appears behind him. What is that? Is this a real person just walking through the building? Is it a ghost? Is it a prank? Is it a hoax? Is it staged? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. A sneaky shadow is seen. Starting on our left, we see a shadow cross over the furniture, heading towards the right side of the screen. What is that? Is this just a human being that is crossing in front of a light source, but behind the camera? Are there any sharp edges that would indicate that this is a video overlay effect? If it was somebody trying to create a shadow behind the camera, we would potentially see that shadow on this coffee table, and we're not seeing it on the coffee table. We're really only seeing it in front of the chair and that wall. It also appears to be a free-floating mass. So unless there's some other trick that I'm not sure about, or a camera glitch, this one might actually be real. This field has a very scary scarecrow. As a car was passing this field, they noticed this very creepy figure. They stopped so they could get a better look at it. When I first saw this, I thought this was a human being in some type of a costume, just being some type of a gimmick. Then it occurred to me it's probably a scarecrow based on the fact that it doesn't have any hands, and that caused me to wonder, are there other scary scarecrows in fields anywhere else? So of course I went and looked for some, and I did find several that are pretty creepy. I don't know how effective they are, but they're definitely creepy. Warning, useless info time. Look away. Scarecrows actually date back to ancient Egyptian time. The belief is that if you have a human-shaped figure near your crops, it will scare the birds away. However, it's best to have loose fabric that flaps in the wind on your scarecrows, because it is the sound of the flapping fabric and movement that actually scares the birds away. So I don't know how effective this scarecrow is. It may be scaring more humans than birds. Episode 19. Is this a headless person or a hoax? As we watch this busy scene, we see a person that appears to have no head. So we know that this is not humanly possible. So that means this is either a costume or a computer camera glitch, or simply the head was removed in post-production. My guess is they removed the head during editing of the video. The chase is on. These young men hear a noise and they go to investigate. They weren't expecting to see a shadow in the doorway. They immediately start chasing the object, and it leads them outside. As they go outside, they come upon some trash cans, and as they get closer, an object rolls out in front of them. It appears to have been kicked by something. But what is that object? It's a shadow, it's a light anomaly, it's unusual, but when they get closer, they don't see anything. Is the light anomaly just a lens flare? And is that shadow an object moving just from somebody hiding on the other side of that trash can? Immediately after seeing that object roll across the ground, the camera goes completely dark. There's still a flashlight that is separate from the camera. Why are we not seeing the flashlight beam? The fact that the camera goes dark after this scene causes me to wonder if this is just staged and the person hiding had that opportunity to get out of there and run. A man is hiking in the forest when he sees someone else. As the man is walking, he hears something. When he looks up the hill, he sees another person. But the way the leaves and trees are camouflaging that person, it makes him look almost transparent. Chances are this is a hunter wearing camouflage fatigues to hide himself in the woods from his prey. It appears a creature is standing in a beam of light. We can see a small creature standing in front of this car, and a beam of light appears to be looking for it. Did you catch the sharp edge on the left-hand side and on the top? That would be indicative of a video overlay. They didn't do color matching correctly to completely blend in those edges, so that's why we can see that this is a video overlay. A silhouette of a creature is captured. As the camera pans towards the left, a creature is seen in the silhouette of the doorway. What is it? This just looks like a human being to me, pulling a prank on the other people by walking on all fours in some type of a costume. Most likely this is a very young person who still has skinny arms and legs, and they just had a bag over their head. A canine is chasing a critter. As we watch, a two-legged critter is being chased by a canine. The creature jumps into the trash can to avoid the dog. I believe this is a coyote, and what stands out is it is in an urban area on a sidewalk, and I think that is the original footage. What I think has been superimposed is the creature that supposedly the coyote was chasing. Now, for the creature, it's really odd because I'm not seeing those typical sharp edges, so they've done a very good job of blending in with the background. But then I also wonder, is it just a puppet or a robot that is being used? Something that is mechanical, that is just an odd looking object? It kind of reminds me of those stupid videos about a dancing chicken, where a chicken is just on a string and supposedly dancing. So did they just amp up that idea and turn it into this chicken that's running from a coyote? Once the dog passes, the creature does a somersault out of the trash can. Is it a puppet? Is it a robot? Is it a really good green screen graphic designer who managed to blend this really well into the existing footage with the coyote? This looks like someone just flung a skinned chicken out of the trash can. This employee has an invisible helper. We will see cleaning equipment slide across the floor. Anytime I see any type of movement, I'm always wondering, is there a string attached and it's just being pulled towards somebody that's off camera? The fact that the employee is able to keep cleaning even after this spirit-like movement is amazing to me. Either it happens so often he's no longer fazed, or it really is a hoax. A shadowy figure appears. A shadow crosses over the wall and disappears. This shadow looks to me like someone just sat straight up in bed and created this type of creepy effect. Is this book possessed? There is a book sitting on this railing, and then it appears to fall off by itself. It does not look to me like this book is sitting on the edge of this railing evenly. It appears like more of it is hanging off the inside of the railing, so any type of vibration stomping on the floor can cause this book to fall very easily. Episode 20. Is this dummy possessed? As we look at this dummy inside this glass container, his eyes open, then the door opens, and then his eyes and mouth start to move. Inside the heads of ventriloquist dummies are string and pulley systems that enable the operator to open and close the eyes and or the mouth. So when I first saw this, I thought, okay, well, they're just using camouflage string so that they can operate this string and pulley system from a distance to create this effect. The little light anomalies that we're seeing, I think when that door opened, it just kicked up dust. I don't think those are ghost orbs. What's throwing me off with this one is on the right side of our screen, we'll see a very faint light moving up and down and back and forth. And it is very wide, and I just can't figure out what that is. Is it a lens flare? Is it old footage? Is it a camera glitch? Is it somehow a reflection caused by a human being standing behind the camera? Is it caused by some other type of reflection? Because it shows up before the door opens. And that's what has me thrown. It shows up again on the far right hand side, over the top of that chair. And I just can't figure out, is that just a camera glitch, old footage, a copy issue? I'm not sure. But it causes me to question if that pulley system is attached to camouflage string or not, or if this is truly paranormal. Is this a ghost or a person? As the investigator moves around the corner of this building, a figure can be seen. The first thing that I noticed is that this figure is casting a shadow. It is clearly a solid mass. I'm not sure how the investigator didn't see it at the time he was investigating. Chances are he had tunnel vision and wasn't looking for the living. He was just looking for the paranormal. Did a shadow attack a mirror? There is a mirror leaning against the wall, and we will start to see a pixelized shadow move towards it, and then the mirror will move. Is the pixelization just a digital camera glitch? After the mirror breaks, we see a shadow walking away from the camera. Then the camera appears to be bumped. The fact that the shadow is so elongated and it runs along the ground and the wall, that tells me it's not a free-floating mass. This is also an odd place to set up a camera. Why was this camera in this position? Is a string being used to pull that mirror down by the person that created that shadow? I slowed the footage down to look at when the camera is being bumped, and it's more eerie than the rest. On the left side it looks like there's fingers, then it looks like there's water or rain, then on the right side it looks like something is dripping blood. Maybe the ghost didn't like being impersonated and left their own mark on the scene. Did this man walk through metal? This camera is pointing at a gate, and this man appears to have walked through it without opening it. This is most likely an optical illusion, where there's a slight gap, but the position of the camera and the angle that we have doesn't show that there's a gap. Is this a cryptid in this pipe? As this person is exploring this tunnel, he starts hearing sounds, and as he gets closer, he sees a figure with eyes. Chances are this is just two human beings, one in front and one behind, but it does make you wonder, why are they not using a flashlight? Is this crucifix possessed? As the camera is pointed at this crucifix, the eyes open, and they stay open for several seconds before they close. This is most likely some type of an animatronic in which you will pass by a sensor causing the eyes to open or close, or the eyes are set up on a timer to open or close. Is this an alien and a light? In this jungle environment, looking over this tribe, We see what looks like an alien figure on the left side of our screen. Then we also see a blue light on the right side of the screen. Because we are in a jungle location, that thing that looks like an alien could be a rock formation, just the way the leaves are being hit by the sun or tree limbs. This blue light is most likely the sun reflecting off of a very shallow and low waterfall. Is this a cryptid crawling beneath this bridge? In this clip, we see a creature crawling across the bottom side of this bridge. I don't know what this is. I do know human beings are crazy enough to do a stunt like this, and I know primates are capable of doing this. All I can tell you is this is a four-limbed creature that's really good at climbing. Are these passengers ghosts? As we watch these passengers on this boarding bridge, we notice one thing. There's no plane. Where are they coming from? Most likely this is just a reflection of passengers exiting a different plane, which causes an optical illusion. But it does look like those passengers are on the inside of that bridge, not reflected in the windows. Are these eyes that are underground from a human, a cryptid, a creature? As the camera is panned into this hole, a creature with large eyes is seen. I don't know what this is. It could just be a human being in a mask. It could be just a mask being thrown down there. But nature also has a lot of odd creatures with big eyes, and here's just a few of them. If I saw any one of these animals in the darkness with just this looking back at me, I would be startled and think it's paranormal or cryptid. I wanted to do this type of video again because I want to celebrate every 10 videos, because that means you're supporting me and encouraging me, and I thank you very much. Be safe and watch out for the non-paranormal threats. Much thanks to Jim Riley for the background music. You can check us out on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, and I truly appreciate it if you subscribe on YouTube. Thanks for watching.